Hi everyone, this is Alex with CSUN in the FTC. I am going to be walking you through today how to get started with Zoom. So the first thing we're going to do is start on the CSUN website, which is right up here, csun.edu. And the first place I can show you where you will be logging into Zoom is right here. If you go to log into the portal, do not enter the Northridge portal, but over to the side you'll see a few more options here. Just like you would sign into Canvas, we're going to go ahead and click Zoom. So when you click Zoom, that should take you to this page now, csun.zoom.us. So there's a couple things I want to point out to you here. As you get started with Zoom, there are a couple things to be aware of. First, there is a website dashboard that you will be signing into where you can schedule meetings and change your personal profile settings, add photos, things like that. And then down here is where we're actually going to get started at the Download Center. To be perfectly clear, the first thing that everyone needs to do if you are using Zoom is to make sure that you have downloaded it and signed in to Zoom. So first things first, go ahead and click the Download Center. Again, right up here, the URL for this page is csun.zoom.us/download. The first thing that you're going to want to download is the Zoom Client for Meetings app. This will be for any desktop or laptop computers you will be using. Make sure to download this first option. Something that I want to point out that is another thing to be aware of is the Zoom mobile apps. You can download this from the Apple Store or from the Google Play Store, and you can also do that by clicking on one of these buttons right here as well. Zoom is free to download, but what I'm going to show you in just a minute is how to sign in to Zoom using a pro account. And the way that we're going to do that is signing in with our CSUN information. So one thing about the Zoom mobile apps though is that this is a good thing to have as a backup. If you have a computer or a laptop that does not have a camera or microphone built into it, most cell phones and tablets today have those built in for you. So if you don't want to have to purchase any equipment, that's just something to know that it's useful to have those as a backup. Also, if you're ever on campus or if you're not on campus and your computer dies and you're trying to be in the middle of a Zoom meeting, or if you start a Zoom meeting and realize your battery isn't going to last long enough, a good backup is to be able to always jump on your mobile device and still be able to join the meeting over that. So that's just something to be said. I would definitely encourage that you download both, have it on your computer and have it on your phone. However, the one thing that I just want to make clear again is that you have to download Zoom and you have to sign in on each device that you plan on using it from. So you have to set it up individually on each device. However, you do not have to set things up every single time. So I would say go ahead and click download here and download the mobile app for your devices at any time if you would like. So one thing that I'm going to go to now is if you were to open up Zoom once it has downloaded, you will be asked to join a meeting or sign in. One thing that I do not want you to do is go ahead and click join a meeting right away. I want you to click sign in. And I want to explain a couple things first too. Do not sign in with Google, do not sign in with Facebook, and do not sign up for a free account. What you're going to want to do is go to sign in with SSO. SSO stands for single sign-on, which is the username and password you use for everything at CSUN. The portal, Canvas, Zoom, the CSUN Wi-Fi, it's going to be your same username and password. So what you're going to do from here is click sign in with SSO. Actually, give me 1 second, sign out. And it's going to ask you, what is your company domain? Our domain or our company is CSUN. So go ahead and type that in, all lowercase or all caps is fine. And just as I showed you before, we're at csun.zoom.us. So you just need to basically enter that in here to make sure that Zoom knows, where you're coming from. Hit continue. And then from here, it will ask for your username and password, and you'll see that we are on the secure CSUN website again. So if you enter in your username and your password, then this will ask you, do you want to allow this page to open Zoom? And you want to go ahead and say yes, allow, or continue, or if you're on a PC, it might ask you if you want to run the application. Go ahead and say yes. And then what's going to happen is the Zoom app will open. So this is the actual Zoom app. And if you want to go ahead and open up the sidebar menu right here, by clicking on your initials, you can verify that you are a licensed user and you are now signed into a pro account. The difference between a pro account and a free account is, if you look back over here, I will show you Zoom account types. So if I go to the Zoom plans, a basic free account is totally fine to have, but what I want to point out is that you will be limited on time, you will be limited on participants, and the nice thing about the pro account is that we all have access to this pro account simply by signing in like we just did using your CSUN email. You do not have to pay $14.99 a month. This is already paid for you through the university. So again, that's $15 a month you don't have to worry about, and you're getting the benefit of all of these added features and tools, a lot more settings and functionalities that comes along with Zoom. So I definitely recommend that everybody definitely try to utilize this if your professors offer online office hours, or if they are hosting any sessions on Zoom at this current time. I definitely encourage you all to make sure that you have the app downloaded so that you can use all of the functions that come with that, and also just make sure that you have signed into the pro account, because why would you want to sign into the basic account when you already have a pro account ready to go for you? And to be clear, all students, faculty, and staff at CSUN have pro level accounts, so everyone across the board will be able to interact and engage with each other in the same way on Zoom. So you don't have to worry about like the teachers are the only ones who have pro accounts and the students just have to sign up for free ones. Everyone has a pro account. And so what we're going to do now is go back to this page. So that's downloading and getting signed in. What we're going to do now is sign in to the website dashboard. And here you will be asked again to make sure you enter your information to keep things secure. And then when you get into the dashboard section, you are going to see this page. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you don't really have to change much on here, but what you can do is add a photo. You can change this personal meeting ID. Zoom will create a random one for you, but you could change this if you wanted to something cool. If you wanted to, you could do something like that, and just see if that works out, or whatever is easy for you to remember, or just go ahead and go with the random one Zoom assigned to you. You can also create a personal URL if you want, and you can also see here our meetings allow us to have up to 300 participants because we are working on the CSUN network, and so we have a few features that are added for us as bonuses. Instead of just 100 participants, we now have 300. So that works out well. You probably won't need that many, but if you're going to be joining in a class where your professor is going to be hosting a meeting and there's over 100 people in the class, that's where this is going to be beneficial, is because you don't want to be one of those few people that can't make it into the Zoom session for a review or for a class session because it just doesn't allow that many people. So it's good for everybody on that sense. The other thing that I want to point out to you in this portion of the Zoom dashboard is the settings page. If you click on settings, this gives you a ton of different options for settings. Settings for the meetings, settings for recordings if you ever want to make recordings, or if you ever have a project that you're making and want to utilize Zoom for a recording, you can. But one of the things that I want to point out is that there are a lot of features in here that you might find really useful, or features that you might need to use. For example, if you are a student who needs captioning on any videos, you want to turn on captioning just in case, because it is not automatically defaulted on. So I just want to point something out like that. Remote support is another useful thing. If anyone works with tutorers in the OVIAT library, one of the really great things about this is when you allow the meeting host to provide one-on-one remote support, that allows another person, the host of the meeting, a tutor or a faculty member, to take over your mouse. And if you need help, learning about a program or how to use something, or let's just say you're working on math problems and you need someone to show you how to work out a math problem, or someone to show you how to work out, some kind of work that needs to be shown, you can have remote support where people can actually drive for you. Like, one thing that I use this for is sometimes faculty will call me, but they teach online and they live in Long Beach, so they don't, drive 2 hours up to CSUN every day. And we'll be working remotely together, and I'll be showing them how to do something. So this allows me to actually drive their computer, and if they're having a problem, or if I'm on a Mac and they're on a PC, and maybe we're just not understanding what each other is looking at because we're not looking at the same thing, this allows us to share screens with each other, and then allows me to be able to go in and drive on their computer. So sometimes you probably won't be needing to do that for faculty, but if you need some faculty or the meeting host, a tutor or a teacher to do this for you and show you where something is or help you through a difficulty like a technical error or something, this is something that could be really useful. Another thing is, they've got some fun features in here too, like virtual backgrounds you can use if you want to. There's some tutorials on YouTube where you can look up how to do that if you want. That's kind of a fun thing to do. And then there's some other things you may or may not need to use if you're not going to be the one facilitating meetings, since if you're going to be just the student joining in if your teacher is setting these up, or your professor is going to be the host. So I just wanted to point that out though, just to browse through some of these things because it's interesting to see. We do have more options than normal than the free or the trial accounts have. So if there's some stuff in there that's beneficial to you, definitely go ahead and enable it. There's no right or wrong answer for this. Some people might find some things more useful than others, and some, might not. So I just want to point that out. But otherwise, then what's going to happen is if you go into your Canvas pages, your professors are going to start to have modules where they're going to be putting things in that might look like this. And this was something that I created just as a sample, but professors are going to probably start putting in Zoom live session information if they haven't done this before with you. And basically what I've done here is I've put in just like a tutorial of how to get started, which is just a PDF. Oops, I guess that was just a sample. But I put in some instructions here of how to get started, which is basically what this video is about, how to get started. And then I put here the meeting ID. If you ever are having a problem with the link, if you try to click this link here and it doesn't work or it doesn't open up the meeting automatically, this meeting ID here is the other part of the meeting invitation that you'll need. So if you were to just open up your Zoom app and go to join a meeting, you could just plug that information in right here and hit join, and that would take you right into the meeting. Otherwise, I have been instructing professors to embed meeting link URL into Canvas right here. As you can see the link icon next to here. So what should happen is you should be able to just click this button and Zoom should go ahead and launch, and what's going to happen is it's going to open up the Zoom app. If you are watching Zoom videos or participating in Zoom meetings like this on Canvas, that works if for some reason you are not able to download and run the Zoom app. However, this is not the proper way to be participating in a Zoom meeting, because this is not asking you to be signed into your pro account, and this is also not allowing you to download the actual app, which gives you a bunch of functionality, which I'm about to show you. So, oops, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. So what's going to happen is when you open up Zoom and let's say start a meeting. So here I am. Hi everyone. I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off. But so while you're here in the Zoom actual meeting, there are some things you're going to want to see. If you are joining your audio through your microphone and your speakers that are built in on your computer, you can go ahead and click test audio and microphone. And this is going to go play a couple of samples for you, so you can say yes and say yes, and that will tell you that everything seems to look good. So that's a way you can test things out. If you have an external audio, if you have any external speakers or microphone, you might need to set that up. So you can always go into here and open up the audio settings and change the different devices, or if you need to plug something else in, you can do that. Then also there are video settings here too, so you can always open up video settings if there's anything you need to adjust. And also it's just good to know your way around the app so you can check some of those things out. But anyway, what I was going to say is once you're in the actual meeting, you want to make sure that your name shows up here. And if your teachers are going to be taking attendance, the benefit of signing in with your CSUN account is your name will show up here. If you join in with a free account, what's going to happen is you might sign in with your Google account, which I said do not do. Please do not sign in with Google. For example, my Google email is my initials and some numbers. So what would show up right here if I signed in with a Google account is my initials and some numbers. So if your professors are grading you on participation, that's something that you're going to want to make sure that it's clear that you are participating and that you are in this meeting. So when you're signed in using your CSUN information, that displays your information so that your professors can see that you were there and give you the appropriate credit. And also, if you participate and ask questions through the chat feature, you can go over here and say, hey, when is this due again? And the professor can say, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I actually didn't even tell you when it was due yet. The due date is going to be next Wednesday before 10 p.m. or something like that. So professors can write back to you. You can ask questions on the Zoom session. This is kind of a good spot to go if your professor is giving a lecture and you have a question about something that maybe could wait till the end or something, or you could say, will this be available on Canvas or something like that. You can write in questions without trying to interrupt your professor. And so the nice thing is that you can sort of put those thoughts in, and then at the very end, hopefully your professor can say, all right, after I'm done lecturing, let me look at some questions and get to that before we end this, and then go over and review the questions and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So that's kind of some cool functionalities that you can use once you're in Zoom. And let me see, I think that was all I was going to go over. But otherwise, this is pretty much all you need to get started and be successful on Zoom, basically by downloading and signing in and just knowing where to go in Canvas so that you can be connected with your class and stay up to date with everything and make sure that you are connected with your class on Zoom and your professor, and also to make sure that you're logged in the right way. If you're seeing the video pop up here in the browser, you are using a browser version of Zoom, which is not the full program. So I just want to be very clear and make sure that everybody just downloads the program and signs in. You only have to do that the first time while you're getting set up. You should not have to do that every single time. And then to look for any meeting invitation and where to go or how to sign on, look to your professor's emails for any announcements with any meeting information, and also refer back to these modules and make sure that if you see these things pop up, you can either click this link, or if for any reason the link happens to not work, sometimes technical issues come up, sometimes people have issues, sometimes other people don't. So in case that happens, you have the backup link, or you should be able to see the backup link if your professor has provided this info to you, and all you have to do is go into Zoom and punch that information in and click join, and you should be able to be good to go. So that wraps up everything I had to show you here. I also wanted to point out that we have a Keep Learning page. So for students, this is a great resource if anybody wants to come here, csun.edu/it/keep learning. This is just some resources that you can all refer to here. This page is updated pretty much daily at this point, so we're adding things left and right as much as we can. That about wraps everything up for Zoom and how to get started for students. So thank you for watching, and hope everybody learned how to get started. Thank you.